Hello everyone, this is G and I'm back with another video. So I do think this one will hopefully be brief, right? But we'll see what happens. So I want to admit this is not a terribly deep video or any sort of nuanced introspective. This is just because, well, my pride has been a bit stung and I need to ease that wound a little bit. Now I tried. I really did. I tried to let this tweet slide. I tried to appeal to my better nature and go, you know what, everybody's entitled to their opinion. But I couldn't. I just couldn't. It stings too much. So, this is David L., right? No picture here, so not too sure if it's a sincere account, right? But this is replying to Anita Sarkeesian, my most favorite person in the whole flippin' world, right? Now, as I stated in other videos and have shown in other videos, Saint Anita has me blocked because I tweeted at her and I sent a very negative tweet her way, so she blocked me. So we all know how she feels about that, open discourse, right? And being open to dissenting opinions, right? But this David L. tweeted her crime, referencing Anita. Her crime, being a woman in the gaming world. A crime many other noteworthy women have committed since. No. No. Anita is infamous, as I've stated in other videos, for the toxic influence she's had in video games. And even though her star has fallen, and she's not quite as prominent as she used to be, like I said, she's the storm, right? She's already done her damage, and we are still dealing with that damage years later. And as we've seen with the Mandalorian boob armor thing and her beef with Lyanna and now her going after Troy Levitt, she will take any opportunity to try to make a bad faith argument, leech onto something, and try to, bring herself back to prominence. But this tweet just got under my pretty brown skin. A crime, her crime being a woman in the video game world. No. Her crime was lying about the way women are depicted in the video game world. That was the crime. She lied. This is the same person who, I think it was the Women as Reward video, right? Tried to do this quick thing where she shows several women in skimpy outfits, and one of them is the boss from Metal Gear Solid 3. And it's the end sequence. It's the final battle where the boss has her catsuit unzipped to the navel to show off the S-shaped birthing scar. And Anita tries to pass this image off as the game needlessly sexualizing the boss and presenting her as a bimbo. When I had that game, I played that game several times. I remember that end sequence very well. And hell, you can still go online and just look up the Metal Gear Solid 3 final boss fight, right? Whatever you want to put in there, and see that whole scene, especially when she pulls the catsuit down, is fan disservice because she's showing off her birthing scar. She's showing off everything she has sacrificed. Because the true patriot in the game, the true hero, is actually the boss. It's a woman. It's not the man. It's not Snake. It's not the man who would go on to be big boss. It was his female mentor. And she wants to misrepresent that as the boss being presented as some sort of sexed up bimbo when that wasn't the case. Now, that might fit Eva a little bit better in the game because she's the femme fatale and Snake's love interest and all that. But even then, that there's a lot more nuance to her role in the game, both in that game and just in the Metal Gear story in general. But her crime was not being a woman in video games. Her crime was misrepresenting video games. You want to have a conversation about how women have been depicted and are depicted? You can have that convo. Lyanna Kay's been having that convo for years. But Anita wasn't having a conversation. She was starting fights. That's what she was doing. That's what she continues to do. She starts fights. She doesn't have conversation. She doesn't allow for dissenting opinion. If you go to her old tropes versus women videos, you'll find that the majority of them have the comment sections off. Why do you think there were so many response videos made at that time? Because people literally could not go into her comment section and tell her what they thought. So they made response videos instead. And she's just being salty. That in this case, the most recent dust up is that Troy Levitt, as I said in the video, made his bones, right, got his channel noticed off of her name, off of criticizing her several years ago. Right? Second thing, you do not in any way, intentionally or unintentionally, compare that fraud to me. I've been at this since I was a little kid. I literally started gaming at the age of 4 in 1980 flippin' 9. Very first system ever was the not the Super NES, didn't even exist yet. Was the NES. Super Mario 3-pack. Super Mario Brothers. Duck Hunt. International Track and Field. Had that long orange and gray gun and everything. That's what I played for years. After that, in the early 90s, we got a Sega Genesis. Okay, I've got a literal small stack of games next to me, which I'm about to show off because, yes, I'm a flex. I'm a flex. Talk about being a... She hasn't been here long enough to claim a damn thing. I'm generally against elitism, but I'm about to claim and pull rank. Because, Which one is this? Mortal Kombat. 1992. Mortal Kombat 2, 1994. This would also include games that sadly I don't have anymore, like Street Fighter 2. That was 1992. Super Street Fighter 2, that was around 94, I think. Right? The whole Alpha series, that was the mid-90s and all that. I had those too. Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Sonic 2. That might have been around, what, 92, 93? Some hockey game. I legit don't remember this. I remember having like Madden 95, but I don't remember this one. But some hockey game. Fatal Fury. Fatal Fury. Before it even became the King of Fighters. Fatal Fury. This has got to be early 90s, like 91, 92, I would think. The first Streets of Rage game, 1991. I also had Streets of Rage 2. It's one of my favorite games of all time, and that came out in 1992. Streets of Rage. And I want to be clear. These boxes still got the game inside. I'm not just showing off box art. Eternal Champions, 1993. Box art. Sorry, video game, the actual cartridge. Yes, I'm that nerd. Oh, look at this. Look at this. Probably isn't going to come up too well on camera, but I'll try it anyway. The 6-button arcade pad. A literal ad for the 6-button arcade pad. Get over here. There goes my cup of water. Damn. Keep in mind, remember, the box art was actually done by comic artist Julie Bell, who I featured in a video when I did the whole, Jennifer Walters art critique. WrestleMania, the arcade game. The date's not listed here, but just given who's on the cover, it's definitely the 1990s. Super WrestleMania. Again, this is probably the early 1990s, giving its Hogan and everything. A game genie. A game genie. When I say I have been about that life for most of my life, for the vast majority of my life, I mean it. And keep in mind, everything I've just shown off right now is all I have left to me. I had a lot more at one point. but due to some events not last year, in 2019, I ended up losing pretty much everything I physically owned, and that would include the majority of my video game collection. So everything that I just showed is literally all that I could salvage from that event, right? So for everything I've just shown, it was part of a larger collection at one point. And that's not even counting everything that still lives up here in my brain, right? In my memories. I remember playing video games like Shaq Fu. And I don't mean the remake that Shaq tried to do a few years ago. I mean the original 1994 or 5, right? Video game, right? That that hard as hell, wonky, awful controls video game had a surprisingly good soundtrack on the Genesis. People pan it so much as a game, they forget that the graphics and the soundtrack were actually pretty good. Prince Raja's theme is boss, in my personal opinion, right? But I show this to prove that I'm about that life. I am about that life. I grew up with it. Okay? Do not compare that charlatan Anita to anyone, to me, or anybody like me. Right? I have been a woman in the video game world since 1989 at the age of 4 years old. Anita does not represent or speak for me. Plus, the coward blocked me after one tweet. Her crime is lying about a creative medium I love and have literally grown up with. Right? And that's the thing. That's the point. Now, I've been to college several times in my life. And like many things, right? Your life sort of goes in a different direction than what you studied in college. But what first got me into college, into a institute of higher learning, because I initially never thought I would go to college, let alone work in one for over a decade. But I never thought I would go to college. Whenever people would ask me in high school, I was like, I'm not going to college. I don't need all that. I don't need more years of high school, which is the way I viewed it. But what got me to go, or at least a large part of what got me to go, I originally went at first to an associate college. It's the only one I actually finished a degree in. Everything else I've started and stopped. Bad gene, bad. But what got me to go initially was the fact that I wanted to work in video games at the time. I really thought that if I could learn how to do programming and coding, right, that I would, maybe get a job in some sort of gaming company, and that would be my way in. That was my original intent, right? And what I ended up majoring in was more or less web design. It was called New Media Technology at the time, but it was a STEM major, interestingly enough, and I did well, although it was actually through that and having to do things like SQL and Visual Basic that I learned that I'm not cut out for coding. I don't have the patience for it. But that was what drove me there. Even though life took me in a different direction, right? What got me there? What the impetus, I guess the word would be, was the fact that there was a time in my life where I wanted to work in video games. Now, seeing what the industry has become and seeing what its politics, both public and private, have been, I do consider my desire to work in the video game industry sort of a unanswered prayer, right? A positive thing, right? Thank God for unanswered prayers. But I will never forget the love that I had for it and still have for it. I do believe in time things will course correct. It's just that you just got to weather the storm. And that's the absolutely frustrating part. We have to weather the Anitas and the Zoe Quinns and the toxic elements that try to tear it down from within. But I do think there will come a time, just like with everything else that we're seeing, there will be a renaissance and the quality will pick up and things will improve. But it's just going to be a while yet. But yeah, she's not a woman in video games. She's a grifter and used video games as her grift. Remember, her next grift right after Tropes v. Women, which to my knowledge she never actually finished, right? Was to do this whole women in history thing, if I remember correctly, which went nowhere because it wasn't as sexy as video games were, right? with all due respect to historical women, you were not going to bring in a lot of people for Ida B. Wells. You just weren't. Okay, she is not exactly someone who's going to bring a lot of internet traffic to you. But claiming oppression every time some white dude tends to loses his temper with you because you're lying, yeah, that will get you internet clicks. So in closing, if being a female gamer is a crime, then I have been breaking the law since 1989. Cue up the Judas Priest because I've been breaking the law since I was a 4-year-old kid. If it's truly a crime, then I've been doing it since I was 4. Right? I've been caught stealing, breaking the law, whatever crime-related song you want to use since the ripe old age of 4. Because guess what? Anita's narrative is a lie. It is not a crime to be a girl in video games, whether it's the depiction of women in video games or whether it's being a female player. Now, is it, have there been issues? Have there been conflicts? Yeah, of course. Of course there have. I haven't gotten along with every single person I've met, but I've gotten along with a lot of them. Hell, I was the one who was elected the SAC alt of the Gamers Club I was in. I was one of the OG members of a Gamers Club uh, in the associate college I went to in Queens. And when we needed a SAC alt, basically kind of like a representative of the group to like sit in on the like group meetings type thing because of student government and student life and all that stuff, right? I was, I'll say, forcibly elected because I didn't want the role. I didn't want the role at all. But I was elected as the SAC alt, right? As the alternate because, and one of the guys who was kind of like the head of the group at the time said it. He's like, "You're the most passionate gamer among us. You're the one who," he was like, "You're the one really who should be the main person, but you don't want to take the role, so we're going to force you to take the alternate role, and that's it." And guess what? I actually did have to go to exactly one of those meetings when the regular person couldn't make it. And it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, but I was still terribly uncomfortable because I was terribly shy. Believe it or not, it may not seem like it because I sit in front of a computer and I rant for minutes on end about something, but I actually really am a shy person in the real world. And it was even worse when I was younger because, when you're younger, you're not as experienced, especially if you're an introvert, you're very, or can be, I should say, very insecure and nervous, and that sort of translates to other people as standoffishness, right? So getting along and making friends wasn't always the easiest thing for me as I came of age, right? But again, I was in a gamers club in college. I don't think Anita can claim that. I remember playing the original Smash Brothers game in college. Didn't like it. No offense, it's just not my thing. But I've got all this experience and all these memories, right? And all Anita has are her pack of lies. Sadly, people will listen to Anita, but they won't listen to me. At least in no major way. Because, see, sadly, the mainstream doesn't want to hear the truth. They don't want to hear from someone like me because I break their narrative on every level. A passionate, brown woman who loves video games and will defend it passionately, I don't exist in their minds. I don't exist in the mainstream's mind. I'm some sort of mythical creature like a Pegasus, right? Or like a unicorn. I can't be real, right? Even as more of us speak up and speak out, we're still not real, right? We're exceptions to the rule, and the rule must be that women in video games at large, especially female gamers, right, or female game journals or whatnot, face this wave and wave and wave of harassment all the time just because they are female and dare to speak. No, that narrative is not true. They face the bulk of the harassment, and by harassment I mean people clapping back because they put out bad faith hot takes and people respond in kind. As the saying goes, you don't start nothing and there won't be nothing. But anyway, that's the video. I just needed to just get this off of my chest. It's just eating at my craw. But anyhow, that's the video. I hope everybody's well or doing better. And I will see you all in the next one. Have a good day or night wherever you are. Bye.